All right. Well, welcome to NFT Hype. Robert, Big Mike again. Today we're doing kind of like a different show, I guess. We're drilling down into one of the projects on Wax, Alien Worlds. And this team that started Alien Worlds has a long history in decentralized organizations, I think DAOs and DACs and things like that. And Alien Worlds is based around that. So we kind of want to go down that rabbit hole, but also just kind of talk about the storyline of Alien Worlds as well. So Robert and Mike, what do you guys think about this topic? I think you were saying, Mike, that you could talk about this forever, huh?
I mean, I just wonder where the whole Ioshi thing came from and like why, like you named like all the planets, what you did, and like what's behind all the card names. And like, I just figured that, like, I mean, you guys had to make all the stuff up. So at some point you probably like had some ideas around, how that happened or
Wait,
what
who
the
said it was made
significance
up?
is or well, I mean, obviously, as a creator, like you kind of just have to throw stuff at the wall and see
I
what
mean,
sticks, right? So,
it's one of those things that we're obviously telling it through a story, and yeah, I mean, I think it's fairly fair to say that it's made up to a degree. I can't claim to be a time traveler back from 2055, so
Oh man, you bursted my bubble.
I know, but we can say that there might be some truth around it within the simulation
ooh,
sense.
interesting.
And what we're actually quite keen on is that Alien World is effectively a simulation of a future or one possible future, which which also feeds in with an awful lot of other things which people have or humankind has built into its collective consciousness already around the possibility of wormholes and alien connections and things being linked in through some kind of algorithms and exoplanets far away and different alien species, which I mean, the aliens we generally have within alien worlds are the ones which you'll find in most of the literature about aliens. So it's kind of really trying to tie into that type of. It builds upon existing collective consciousness style.
Existing lore,
Yeah, well, yeah. So
essentially.
existing things that this whole concept of grey aliens is that there's a very long and detailed history around it, which is really weird how it's become so much within a collective consciousness rather than just people having completely different views. You have a lot of people really just going towards there's like 4 or 5 different types of aliens that often get highlighted as okay, this is what an alien looks like, and that's really interesting to me in particular. That why would we suddenly come up that okay, there's going to be this. There's always got to be the kind of lizard man style alien, and there's always got to be the grey alien, and then there's always got to be the kind of robotic, technically advanced alien. But whenever you look at it, so there's always some collective stuff there, and I think, I mean, I've had a very long um, interest in sci-fi and these types of things, and being a very avid reader for many years. So there's an awful lot of influences around some of the classic sci-fi stuff that's sat around there. I think
And you guys draw from that.
yeah, the Oshis. I mean, I think I always loved this idea that of Satoshi is like the great iconic figure within blockchain, and I just love this whole idea that maybe Satoshi was just like one of the Oshis. Maybe there's a lot more Oshis out there, and maybe Satoshi was an
Interesting.
alien, and then there's other Oshis out there that who have different things. So we got the concept of Aoshi, which is kind of artificial intelligence Oshi. He's the supreme leader of the Oshis, and Satoshi was one of his emissaries to to help the humans build Bitcoin, which would then help them uncover the um, unusual information that's hidden within different algorithms for mining, which would then help you design up something to go and interface with wormholes. It's kind of around that. There's a little bit of, say, maybe contact within that, and maybe a little bit of stuff that's linked around with a bit of stuff that Arthur C. Clarke came across back in the day. But yeah, there's a few different influences which
did you read you said you read science fiction, right?
Yeah.
What are some of your favorite authors?
Well, I said that I always like the classic stuff. So I was always much more on the likes of Hyman and obviously Clarke and Isaac Asimov type stuff back in the day. So there's a lot of very interesting stuff that's coming out from Asian authors now around sci-fi, but I kind of always liked the old classics, and I mean, obviously, I grew up on Star Trek.
Oh yeah,
Star Wars, so as well.
Is that why I always see you in the William Shatner channel?
Yeah. Of course. Yeah, I mean, that's all a big part of my childhood. So, and I think a lot of people. I never actually ever, wore Trekkie clothes or dressed up like that. But if there was some sort of Star Trek type thing around, around where I lived, I probably would have liked it. But yeah, we didn't have stuff like that around.
Yeah, so I guess it all has to have a game around it, and so why just I'm not 100% into Alien Worlds. I see it around and I have some land, but what's the point of mining? Is it just one game? Is there more to come?
Oh, there's a lot about it. I mean, it was always envisaged as having all sorts of different things going on. So I always tried from the very beginning and say, look, this isn't a game. This is kind of like a system, an interconnected set of things where there's different incentives everywhere and people can build different games on top and do different things. So that was the whole idea, that it was never supposed to be just like a game and a thing. It was supposed to be, let's build up a whole place. And I mean, I always like the term metaverse, but metaverse has been a bit taken over by the idea of people running around a space in 3D and that type of thing. Whereas really what we're looking at is kind of an economic version of a metaverse, or the foundational levels of a metaverse which can be built upon. I mean, you see, I don't know if you've read much of the sort of metaverse stuff that's around, like Snow Crash or the stuff that Tim Sweeney's been writing around a lot in blogs as well. But I mean, eventually we're going to get this Ready Player One style setup going on. I think it's pretty clear that that's where a lot of things are probably going. It won't be exactly like that, but we're going to end up with a lot of that. You see, VR is kind of at that level now where that maybe consoles were like 20, 30 years ago. I mean, lots of people have their Oculus Rift or Oculus Quest, whatever it is now.
Yeah.
And they love it. But it's quite limited in what you can do, and you're not going to be spending all your life in it at the moment. But give it another 10, 20 years, we're going to be looking at a very different space. 20 years ago, you didn't see people looking at their phones for 8 hours a day. In the same way, you're not seeing people using VR headsets 8 hours a day, but maybe 20 years time could well be the case. And then
I guess it depends on the planet that we live on at that period of time too, right?
Yeah.
So hopefully we don't end up with like that Ready Player One, like dystopian universe.
Yeah,
thing, right? It's like,
I mean, we've always got to hope it's not going to be totally dystopian. I mean, people might look at us now and the societies that we live in now, and they might actually view it as very dystopian because there's an awful lot of controls and a lot of surveillance and things around. But there's also a lot of freedom and so it's kind of this funny mix, and often these futuristic visions, they have this sense of like one terrible outcome out there, and then everybody's like within it. But I think everything's very rich and multifaceted. So we'll probably see like some people living their Ready Player One like that, or and lots of other people living a far better lifestyle than that.
Well, then at the end of the movie too, they use the whole Oasis to actually influence the real world. So there was
Yeah, exactly.
an upside too, right? So
turn it off on Tuesday.
maybe we don't get to that point.
Yeah, I doubt. If you turn it off on Tuesday, then I'm sure someone will set up the Tuesday Oasis and take the whole market. But so I doubt that one company. In fact, my view is that that type of metaverse thing is going to be all these different things linking up together. So there's not going to ever be like one person in control of stuff. It's going to be, my view is that it's going to be this whole rich tapestry of different things, which
this is not actually the first time I've heard that, and I think that's the way it's going. All of these metaverses, whether it's a 3D world or a system like Alien Worlds has, kind of building out an economic transactional system underneath. Yeah, you're right. Like, how does that look in 2 years? Like, what does that look like?
Well, exactly. It's I mean, what we're seeing is they start saying things like, okay, Roblox, Minecraft. I mean, the thing you see today up there is Roblox is this 40 billion bet on the metaverse, because what they're saying is, all right, loads of people will just run around Roblox and they're interacting with all sorts of things within there, and it will develop more going forward. But you're not going to get the whole world just playing Roblox. Lots of people want to play other things instead of Roblox, and Roblox can't cover everything. So it's kind of like some people will play Roblox stuff, some people just go around hundreds of different Minecraft servers. Other people will go into Sandbox or Decentraland if they ever really pull off what they want to do, which is debatable. And so other people will go into fancier spaces, or stuff like Epic Games will produce a kind of more rich world which people actually go around and with all their fancy avatars and money and stuff. And then you're going to have all of these things potentially interfacing. And then the question is, how do you actually get this connectivity between things? Do you, without having NFTs or transactional, some kind of transactional currencies and things for doing stuff? So NFTs are this kind of, if you have an NFT in a particular space, potentially you can take it elsewhere. It has different powers somewhere else. And it's almost like once you start thinking about living in a digital space more, then NFTs have more and more power, because that's the stuff you own. It's you might go there now that you've got your prized thing that you currently own, like your trophy for this, or your that you've got your physical trading card for this, or you've got some particular item that you go, oh, this is my prized possession. I mean, with the way that the world is now, in the digital world now, you're going to have to see that most people's prized possessions will be their digital items, and that's a fundamental shift, that all of a sudden the economy becomes focused around digital items rather than physical items, and that's a whole different way of being.
And
but
I think
it's going to change a lot
with our space shrinking too in this world, and more people and stuff. I mean, it only makes sense that we would want to kind of get rid of the physical hoarding style, like
get rid of
we just don't have enough room
to create all this waste.
So we'll just put it all on a blockchain somewhere and then it's safe there, so we're good.
Yeah, so it's almost that blockchain is more environmentally friendly than proof of work systems. And then
well, some are more environmentally friendly than others.
Yes. I mean, I think it is this. I've seen some of the latest commentary has been around NFTs are evil because they destroy the environment. stuff.
What?
Well,
Yeah, we use electricity
yeah,
for
yeah,
NFTs.
because what they're basically saying is Ethereum uses up all this, and NFTs, therefore, minting your Ethereum NFT uses up this massive amount of electricity, so it's evil.
Well,
and-
I think those of us in the wax space can't disagree with that sentiment at all, right?
Well, exactly. Back in the day,
Hey,
I
we're breaking
don't know
down
if you-
walls, not building them up.
Yes. I'm sorry. Sorry.
I don't know if you remember back in the day, there was a initiative on the EOS chain around making it carbon neutral. I think
Right.
EOS Authority
Yes.
led that, and it was actually successful. And they got everyone to sign up, or they got a load of block producers to sign up for, to buy carbon credits around it, and effectively make the EOS chain carbon neutral. And that had like no press about it whatsoever. Nobody
Ahead of its time, to be honest.
It was so ahead of its time. And I mean, Wax could, very, very minimally do a similar thing and make itself carbon neutral, which would actually be a really nice thing as well. But when they're saying about all these issues around blockchain and energy and stuff, it would actually be quite a nice thing. But I'm a bit busier. Lead that type of thing anymore. But
Maybe you can sort of integrate that within the Alien Worlds lore somehow.
Maybe we should.
There you go.
Yeah. So yeah. So I mean, I think that you did say a bit about DAO stuff and how that came about, and I'm happy to talk on that.
That's actually one of the most interesting parts to me. Like I'm not a big miner, but I would like to participate in governance. So talk about that and how that's going to look.
Yes, absolutely. Right. So obviously the team that built out Alien Worlds thus far effectively came together through EOS DAG, which has quite a long history on the EOS chain, and dropped even onto Ethereum before EOS was even a chain, and had all sorts of fun and games, moving over tokens.
I remember that.
And setting up and then setting up the DAC, and then having all sorts of governance issues left, right, and center around it as well. And but still functioning, still trying to build stuff. And so certainly Michael Yeates, who I'm sure most of your viewers are familiar with.
He's a good friend of the show.
Yeah, I mean, he is one of the top people in the space, and he really led the development and stuff around these DACs on EOS, and we wanted to see. I mean, obviously, Wax being in the EOSO chain, it seems like a really good idea to try and bring the DAC factory over to Wax. But you know what, the DAC factory was always designed around the idea of like business use or DApp use or that sort of thing, whereas Wax is more about, games and more fun stuff. So when we were kind of discussing it in the early stages of Alien Worlds, we were saying, well, it would be great if we could actually have, planets as DAOs, and we could have some economic measures around it, and it would all be this like economic incentives everywhere, and having lots of competing DAOs in a gamified sense, and that would actually be like quite a fun way to get people to start to engage with this whole DAO concept.
Right. Just before you go on, just for some of the viewers who may not know about DAC Factory, that was some software that you guys had produced that would enable anybody who would use that software to create their own suite of tools needed to run a DAC, which is a decentralized autonomous community, right?
Yeah. How we always termed it was decentralized autonomous community. For C element there has, it can be many things. People have called it corporation, people have called it council or something, and there's various things that people have well, we've always called it community. And to be honest, we've now kind of moved across to calling it them DAOs because, well, especially on Wax, because most of the groups who push the idea are calling it DAO. So we kind of we found that it's easier for people to understand if we just call it DAO at the moment.
So the 5 planets are each a DAO. 6 planets,
and there may be another planet, but that's a different thing, and it won't have land on it. So, but the six planet.
Ooh, that was an interesting one. So 6 planets, and so one of the questions I asked before was, how did you guys name these planets?
There's actually a reason there. These are all actually names of real exoplanets.
Oh.
So if you go onto the exoplanet list that's out there, I mean, NASA's tracking like 4,000 different exoplanets now, but most of them are all just names of exoplanets, and also they're short names of exoplanets, because what we had is we had the .world short name on Wax,
Right.
so that gave us 6 characters to play with. So we had to pick out the ones which were 6 characters, and we tried to pick ones which were looked relatively hospitable, but we actually just went for names which sounded best. But they're all taken from there. So for instance, and a load of them, how the exoplanet naming convention is that a load of these exoplanets were actually named by different countries. So for instance, Magor is, I think, if my memory serves me right, is what Hungary decided to name its planet, because Magor is like something within some of their mythology somewhere. So loads of countries, I think at least 100 countries had got to name a particular exoplanet according to something that they wanted to do, and different ones had different competitions on it. So for instance, Ike is actually near in some particular language somewhere. So because it's
near,
the real Ike is actually quite close. So that's how they all got their names. Was they simply were pulled from a list of being nice sounding planet names which were actual exoplanet lists. So hopefully we won't get anyone coming back and saying that why have you gone and represented our exoplanet like that? But I don't think anyone has any actual claims on it. So.
I bet you now someone's going to go dig up the lore for each one of them based on their whole,
well, there is a little bit. There's
country,
a little bit of rule put in place, I mean, around it, but it's what we've often kept things a little bit flexible, because we really want people to be able to put their own things on top of it. So there's some base law there, but it's not really hard and fixed, so that it opens up a little bit of creative freedom. And I think one thing we're going to be doing in the near future is opening up some competitions around fan fiction to try and build it out some more as well on that.
Cool.
Community.
Interesting.
And there's some cool stuff happening with Minecraft soon too, right?
Yeah, and I mean that's in collaboration with the Uplift World guys, who obviously are doing some great stuff on Minecraft, and we're definitely working with them on getting some Uplift lands and perhaps Uplift servers actually mapping out some of the alien worlds and having some quite interesting spaces and potential crossovers with them.
That's cool.
So yeah, I think it's always been a ambition to try and get like Minecraft and potentially Ark, which is this dinosaur game that has open source servers as well, to have things like that integrated into the whole reward system and the whole the whole thing, so that it doesn't become just about mining. It's about, okay, you can earn trillion, play Minecraft and doing some things on Minecraft, or you can earn trillion in there, and that would depend on what the planet wants to do around its setup.
You mentioned something in a couple of minutes ago about the planets reflecting the actual exoplanet terrain. Is that true?
No. Right. So that is a little bit creative license.
Okay, got you.
The reality is, if you look at exoplanets and you start delving into them, most of them are completely uninhabitable hellholes. Yeah, so they would be a lot more like Venus or Jupiter or whatever else than Earth. So these are all, a nice thought up thing of what an interesting, well, to use a Star Trek terminology, like Class M planet would be that would be able to sustain life of some sense or another. And so it kind of goes within those things, even though Magor was chosen as being the more violent and more volcanic one, because that just seems better for it. So.
It seems like a collab between Shatner and Alien Worlds would be so awesome, right? Like you should tweet at the guy.
Let's say I have reached out, but
okay.
it's not always easy. Look, we with Alien Worlds, we are really looking at, we love crossovers.
Yeah.
We've been really trying to get link up with other groups. We've had a Cogs astronaut come in. We've had the Horrors bats and things. We've had now the
crypto monkeys.
Crypto monkeys, and so I mean they're an amazing group, and the stuff they did up was all completely independent. It was really cool. But
well, you guys actually just made crypto monkeys NFTs in your set too, right? Did you?
Yes, we did, because they've been so active. We just went, well, can we do some official stuff with you?
Yeah,
cool.
Which is awesome.
And I think that going forward, we've got some big plans around some bigger IPs that we really want to tie up with and potentially bring to Wax or other setups as well. So that's stuff that we're going to be looking at and going to be seeing how we can integrate it nicely. But I can't disclose any details yet. But in the next few months, we're definitely going to be seeing some interesting IP announcements around Alien Worlds, I'm sure.
Awesome. Well, can't wait for that. That'll be really fun. I think there's going to be a lot of.
I think it will be very interesting to people, and hopefully bringing the whole new demographic as well.
Oh, a new demographic. That's a small hint. That's good. And do you consider a different? Do you consider Ethereum people a new demographic, or?
They are potentially a new demographic, but Ethereum people are. We kind of see them as some of our core demographic, to be honest.
Right. Okay. I was just trying to get more information out of you.
We are because we do always present ourselves, and it's for a good reason, that we present ourselves as being Ethereum and Wax, because we want to try and be cross-platform as well. We know Wax is absolutely fantastic for being able to have a lot of transactions and being able to do some really cool things around the contracts of NFTs and integration and mutable attributes and playing around with them and having all this stuff on chain. But we also respect that Ethereum and other chains have a lot of pluses as well. So we're really trying to be cross-chain in a creative way that's going to be able to make it so that we use different chains for what they're supposed to be used for. Ethereum, for instance, people love storing their stuff and trading speculative tokens on Ethereum, and they love high value stuff being stored there where they can keep it nice and secure. So so there's very big possibility that some higher value link ups and stuff may well end up on Ethereum in the future. And certainly quite a lot of tokens we expect to be on Ethereum in the future as well.
Because TLM already can move to Ethereum right now, right?
That's absolutely correct. There is already a fair amount of TLM on Ethereum.
Cool.
Oh, okay. Well, hang on, that's news to me. What does that mean?
That
means a
that
lot.
means that TLM is a cross-chain token. You can teleport it from Wax to Ethereum and back again.
So you can
Is that
hold
code
a
open source?
Sorry?
Is that code open source?
No, I'm not sure exactly if it's open source, but there's definitely we've got contracts, and I'll have to double check if it's actually open source. But how it works is that we've got effectively a teleport contract on Wax, and we've got a teleport contract on Ethereum, and calling those actions will move it across. And we've actually got oracles in place which will read from those contracts and then work out what's supposed to happen on the.
It essentially just wraps the item in the other chain and then stores it like an escrow contract, right?
That's exactly right. Yeah.
And the thing that really excites me about that is then, and that pretty much means that any fungible token on Wax or any EOSIO chain in general can now be ported to Ethereum.
Yeah. Yes. And I think that's that this whole cross-chain element is something we're going to see a lot more of in the future as well, because if you've got a load of Ethereum tokens, which a lot of people do, and you have a place that you store them, or you want to put them into your trading pool or liquidity pool, or whatever else, then you generally do it on Ethereum, and you generally it's nice to have everything set up there, and trying to manage all these different things separately is hard for people. So it's quite nice to be able to move it across there and potentially have different dynamics there, sort of keeping it for security aspects, keeping it perhaps for some of the speculative aspects, and then having the actual actions and other gameplay going on Wax or other chains which might well have some link ups and tie-ins as well.
Yeah, so I actually see the real value is taking an NFT, a Wax NFT, and putting it over to the Ethereum chain.
Yeah. Look, we haven't got that ready yet. I think, Wax have said they're going to have some kind of set up for that. So I'm not. So we're not wanting to reinvent the wheel. It's actually on there.
Yeah, and vice versa, I believe.
Yeah.
So
definitely bringing Ethereum ones across to Wax and sending them the other way is going to be interesting to see how that develops, because obviously the costs on Ethereum are pretty huge. So it's going to have to be high value pieces all the time for that. But there are a few high value pieces around, as we know. So.
Well, the thing is like there are high value pieces, and if you're on Ethereum, and then there's low value pieces on Wax. Now, if they all kind of can transfer back and forth, then
it becomes. Oh, there's definitely high value items on Wax as well.
Right.
Well, even though your land must be considered quite highly now, and on top of that, there are a lot of Wax NFTs which have gone for at least many 5 figures, even 6 figures Wax now.
Yeah, I think last night even a 1-of-1 gold Elon Musk gold card, GPK one, went for around $6,000, so that was pretty good.
Nice. So it's not quite in the like Beeple world or the or what's going on with CryptoPunks, but it's but I mean I'm not completely convinced that that's all real anyway. So I think a lot of stuff on Wax is very real, and I think if you see these transactions taking place and there's no real marketplace fees being paid in it, and it's just going between two accounts, and you kind of there's a little bit of suspicion there when you start looking at millions of dollars being sent across for a few pixels.
This is true. I mean, a lot of people had a lot of ETH early, and now they have a lot of money, right? So it's, I guess it's easier for them to buy stuff for exorbitant prices as well, too. So
yeah, I mean, I think there's probably is something there, but if you do have 10,000 ETH or something, then spending a few ETH on something doesn't feel like spending a lot of money. And even though it is pretty insane amounts of money, whereas a lot of people on Wax probably don't have the same type of feeling about their monetary situation.
yeah, well, until lately, Wax hadn't had any real significant gains to speak of for quite a long time, right? So
Yeah, so coming back to the Alien Worlds, like what can we expect coming out soon? I know that you can reveal from a lore perspective, from a gameplay perspective.
Right, yes. So coming soon. Right, so the governance side, which you're interested in, is going to be an interesting one in the next, hopefully the next week or so. We're going to be pulling out the candidate registration. So you're going to be able to go and put yourself forward as a candidate for particular planetary governance. And so that's all going to be released coming very soon. And then obviously it will take time. It'll be a process where people will put themselves forward as candidates. Then we'll have you know a bit of husting stuff going on, and then we'll start opening up voting, and then eventually it will be unlocked. And they'll probably be unlocked, you know, on the basis of highest stake first, and then planet first, and then they'll gradually go.
So is every planet going to have its own website, or is it one website with all the planets underneath it?
Oh, right. So for the actual governance setup, it's going to be one planet with, one website for the whole of the governance. But obviously each one's got its own sections.
Okay.
That's its default. That's the kind of thing we offer. But remember, the planets are going to be DAOs, so they're going to have their own pots, because already they've been filling up big pots of Trillium, which they've been default sending through to the mining games. Now that's going to start to become theirs to choose how they start to do it, and whether they want to start offering DeFi rewards, or whether they want to start having you know, other reasons for people who want to come and stake to them, or whether they simply just want to take the money off and run away with it or something. And be that is basically the DAO there, but they're competitive. So obviously, if you're wanting to be part of a planet or want to run a planet, you want your planet to be as successful as possible. So you're going to have to try and get people really interested in staking more to your planet and give them the right rewards to do so. So it's going to be
otherwise they won't vote for you.
Well, that's the thing, that they won't vote for you, or they won't stake to you. And so then you have to worry about, okay, well, our planet nobody's coming to our planet anymore because we aren't giving them anything. We're over on Neri, the crypto monkeys are giving them lots of bananas. So hey, that's it's far better to go over there. Or they're giving back their rewards, or they're having some DeFi program, or they've actually bought another game over here that's more fun to play than mining, and they're rewarding people on that. So it's going to be interesting to see how that competitive dynamic works, and to see how these incentives work. And quite frankly, we don't know. We're actually we don't know, or we haven't expected a load of things which have already happened and already of factions organizing around it. So we're going to be really interested to see what happens in the future.
It's sort of like you just guys are just building out the tools and seeing what the community does with it, right?
A little bit, yeah, and you know, trying to support and incentivize the community as much as possible to do really cool things.
What's the cabal doing these days, Mike?
We have eyes on Cavian as per usual. We're working on some incentivization programs to try and keep up with the crypto monkeys, because they've definitely been doing quite well lately. So we need to address that, obviously. And we're excited for governance. I'm definitely running for Cavian Council. I think Anyo is, and a couple of other people. So yeah, the cabal is very excited for
Oh,
governance.
wow. So Mike, what's the platform that you're running under?
My platform is TLM for the people. Essentially.
Okay. Well, that's an easy one.
Yeah, we want to give some TLM back to miners and make them want to come visit us more often. So that's definitely one of my platforms, and we want to incentivize the council as well to keep putting out all the good work. So we're definitely going to probably give ourselves a little chunk too, and we'll see what happens. You know,
A little bit for you, a little bit for me. All right, I got it.
exactly.
A little bit of, you know, it's going to be really interesting to see, because it's probably like in the world there are lots of different ideas about how you run things, and some people love this idea of like everything should just go back to the people, and everything should be self-organized and whatever else. And then they suddenly go, oh, hang on, but we need this and we need this. Oh, let's pay for that and pay for that. And then all of a sudden they've developed a government again. And
Pretty much.
so it's going to be interesting to see, you know, if some groups actually want to go off and do ambitious things with their reserves. I mean, should get a fairly sizable amount of rewards to play with, or pots to play with, to potentially design up interesting things for people. So
Yeah, we're going to have a good head start on Cavian. So
I think Cavian has quite a nice attachment. So there's definitely a lot there that Cavian can potentially do if it uses its incentives wisely. Yes.
Robert, like, where do you see Alien Worlds in 2 years? Where?
Right. Without giving the game away about some things which that what I would love to see is that we would.
Oh yeah, that's a better question. Where would you like to see it? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So I would like to see it having a lot of vibrant communities and different gamification experiences going on, so that it becomes a far richer system that has a lot. I mean, I certainly would like to see that we've built out the battling games, that we've built out good questing functionalities, that other people have built other games on top, and that there's like a thriving ecosystem of loads of people using different things and using it for different purposes, some of which we may not even know about. And we'd love to see more cross-chain interaction, so bringing in other chains and having some flow between the different chains and different experiences on different chains. And we'd love to see some interesting and exciting extra IPs brought into the whole ecosystem as well.
Awesome.
Cool.
Yeah.
Sounds very exciting.
I think it's going to be a really good ride, and we're very excited about it.
Yeah, and that's the thing about NFTs. They're just kind of fun, right? Like, you know, imagine talking about DeFi all the time, and well, DeFi lore, you know, like.
Yeah, there's not an awful lot there, is there? but I think DeFi has its place. But you see, DeFi, if you start adding NFTs with DeFi, it starts getting fun. Yeah, so
it's a weird world we're living in right now. So
yeah, I really but I didn't actually really go much into depth on the law. Now I'm thinking about it, but I'm sure we can have another section on it.
Yeah,
and you guys kind of already are doing DeFi too, right? I mean,
yeah, well,
is
A lot
using
of
your
it is,
NFTs for that.
but we're kind of expecting the planets to have a bit more of a DeFi type role,
Mhm.
that they get the rewards. Then the staker, they give back the stakers interesting rewards, and that kind of is DeFi. So it's yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if planets kind of take up that challenge to develop interesting systems of rewarding people for staking.
Well, let's see what the future holds. Robert, thanks so much for joining us today. We'll definitely have you back on, because I think as things develop, this is a storyline and a lore that we want to keep on following. So Mike's a fan and I'm a fan, so let's do it again.
Yeah, for sure.
Absolute pleasure, and it's always good to chat on these things. And hopefully, I've shared some interesting stuff for you today.
Yeah,
Yeah.
always. And thank you again so much for joining us.
Cool, absolute pleasure. Cool.
Okay. Bye.
Take care,
Bye.
guys. Yes, bye.